Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kalah Haley, CEO and founder at St. Rock Media, and I'm very excited to have with me on this panel this Saturday morning, afternoon, Frank DeGods. Welcome.
Yo.
What's going on, man?
Let's go.
Founder of Utes and DeGods, so very excited to have you here.
Let's go.
And also Sandeep Noel, thanks so much for coming from Polygon. Awesome. Well, very excited to jump right in. We have about 25 minutes here. So first and foremost, welcome to the Mile High City. Not many people are actually local, so I'm glad to have you all here at ETH Denver. How's the conference treating you so far?
Dude, I'm honestly shocked at how packed it is. Like, coming from Solana, I mean, man, like, yo, there's a lot of people in ETH. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Let's go ETH Denver. Woo!
How about you, Sandeep? How's it going so far?
Yeah, obviously, like, I've been in ETH Denver for like last 4 or 5 editions, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This time, it's like absolutely crazy.
100%. All right, Frank. I met with Kevin at Art Basel last year in Miami, and we met up at the hotel, and he was telling me, he whispered, he was like, hey, something's coming, and we might be moving around from ecosystems. And so you all being, having flagship projects being DeGods and both Utes on Solana, tell me more about what sparked this partnership, especially on the Ute side, and thinking about moving ecosystems from Solana over to Ethereum and Polygon.
Yeah, so we have this motto coming into 2023. It's FAFO, which stands for fuck around, find out. And so we were just, we were looking to take the highest upside risk possible coming into 2023 with everything we were doing, because we didn't know how the market's gonna be. We don't know where everything's gonna go. And so when we saw what happened with Reddit NFTs, with Trump NFTs, honestly, too, on Polygon, we said, wow, like, there's a lot of potential here. They're denominating in ETH. There's a lot of excitement around the right IP and the right brands on this chain. And after talking to Ryan, Sandeep, Sanket, a lot of people on the team, it just felt like, man, these guys are sharp. They're working really hard, and we want to work with partners that are, just want to see this thing grow just as much as we do. And so that's what ultimately led to the decision. We talked to a lot of people, but it was a no-brainer to take Utes to Polygon and work with all the brands. But more than that, just leverage the low latency, high throughput transactions while still being on EVM and do it in a cool way. So that's just what excites me the most, yeah.
And what have you found out so far in 2023?
What have we found out? Well, like, crypto is still alive and well. That is like what we found out. I think coming into it, post FTX, things are starting to look a little bleak. But man, just like seeing all the turnout right now, I doubt everyone could even understand the words that we're saying, but thank you guys for coming out. And man, it's just incredible to watch. And so there's something that's really powerful here, just finding the right use cases and keeping it exciting and fun.
100%. Sandeep, on Twitter Spaces, we do a lot of, as you imagine, we do a lot of Twitter Spaces, and affectionately, we call Polygon the B2B chain. And so between your partnerships with groups like, whether it be Starbucks or Meta or Reddit, we've talked about that a little bit here. What was it that you all saw that you said, okay, we need to have kind of a consumer-focused strategy as well, thinking about communities, bringing on Utes? What got you all excited about partnering with Utes?
Yeah, so about, this B2B things also and other things, like, if you see even before many of these things, like, only last 2 months, I think Arbitrum is doing good in DeFi, but otherwise Polygon was after Ethereum, the second largest platform, like Ethereum-focused platform on DeFi also. DAOs, for example, Aragon, 99% of all the DAOs, if you see, they exist on Polygon, all that. So it's not like truly, correct. But what we have thought is, and my personal mission is to get 1 billion people in Web3 in next 10 years, right? And I keep trying to find places or trying to find avenues where we can bring mass users into Web3. So that's why all of these things, that you see, Reddit, Instagram, and, Starbucks, and Nike, and, Sephora, and, like, tons of other things. So with Utes and Frank, like, I feel that Frank is, by heart, is already like ETH. I consider him ETH, ethos.
I got my .eth.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
Yes,
Yeah.
because And then, my quest has been like, it's not only, DeGods and Utes, but my quest has been that Ethereum becomes the most powerful platform on the layer 1, right? Like, what we can do on the layer 2s and things like that. So the quest has been to bring, how do you bring as many people into Ethereum as possible, whether it's on layer 2, layer 1, doesn't matter. And obviously it's good if they are on Polygon. But with Frank, like, what he has not told many people, that he had double-digit million offers from multiple alternative L1s. And he still chose Polygon for a fraction of that, some community incentives and things like that. So, people don't know the full story, but because I know that his team, them, ethos-wise, they are already ETH. That's why they chose something to work closely with Ethereum than anything else. So, yeah, it was a no-brainer for us. Like, I know Frank is probably in the NFT space. I don't know of a leader more charismatic, more community-centric, and, a leader whom community loves so much. So for us, it was a no-brainer.
That's a really good point. And Frank, it's funny when hey, there you go. There's some daps. When I first heard you speak, it was again on some Twitter space. I was like, who is this cat? Like, he is very your approach to the way you think about solving different problems. You have fun. You're lighthearted with it at the same time. And so, how do you approach? You're also a young guy, right? And so how do you approach thinking about solving these kind of complex problems and yet still having a very lighthearted and fun nature with it?
Yeah, I love this question. I think the simple thing to me is NFTs, cartoon JPEGs, are probably 2 years old as an industry. And so I think a lot of people look at the way things are today as the accepted reality of how it's always going to be. But I think it's actually the opposite, where a lot of things that were created, and the more you look behind the curtain, are pretty arbitrary. Like, some dude just decided, yeah, this is how metadata is going to be. Fuck it. This is how royalties are going to be. Yeah, this is how it's going to be. And we're seeing the unwinding of a lot of the early primitives in NFTs, and it's changing. You see what Jack Butcher is doing recently with just fuck it, we're just going to update the metadata all the time, change the image all the time. This was taboo a year ago, And so seeing all these things change, it's two things. It reminds you, one, we are in a multi-billion-dollar industry that's centered around trading literally JPEGs. That in itself is a whole thing to unpack. But the other side is it's so young and early as an industry. The way that it is today is very unlikely to continue to persist in a year from now. And so it excites me to be a part of that change. And usually that change revolves around things that are fun, exciting, and gets people interested in what's happening. Because there's a lot of boring things in the space, and I strive to not be boring, because that's the death of an NFT.
100%. Well, and I think you make a really good point around there's just room for flexibility, right? I think, we throw around the term rug pull quite loosely. I think that those terms, it's really innovation, honestly, and not, in some instances, obviously, there's some bad actors. But I think what you guys have done is you're very dynamic. You're constantly pivoting. You're constantly moving, which I think is very much needed in this space. Speaking of just kind of what's happening around us, global economic conditions, right? There's a lot of issues going on, right? Both economic as well as self-inflicted. You talked about FTX a little bit ago. How are you both thinking about, kind of from a B2B, and not to just put you all in these boxes, but even from a consumer standpoint, how are you thinking as leaders within this space? Because I think that there are a lot of people that have that want to believe in what we're all building here, but with a lot of things that have happened, in the last couple of months, feeling wow, this is hard to continue to fight for, continue to build in this space. So how are you guys thinking about leadership in the roles that you currently hold?
The honest answer is that I don't think about it too much, because I think if I can't control Jerome Powell. You know what I mean? We don't have an impact on macroeconomics. So for me, it's we have a term in the community called feed the pigs. Our co-founder Kevin grew up on a pig farm, and the whole story is whether it's raining, whether it's sunshine, whether he had a bad day, you have to just wake up and feed the pigs and just do your job, and things are gonna work out. And that's how I look at it. So things suck, but we gotta feed the pigs. We gotta just do our job.
I like that. Feed the
Exactly.
pigs.
Exactly the same opinion that, right now, we can't predict. in crypto, like 3 months is like 1 year, right? So if somebody, comes to me and tells me that, in 1 year we are going to do this, I'm like, bro, you don't know crypto at all, right? So, you have to have this quarterly plan and this, and, you can't like over-index on what's going to happen in 2 years. You need to move, maybe not even quarter by quarter, month by month, like so many things change. Like if you ask me what was happening just before FTX and what started happening after FTX and then what is happening now, it's stark difference in how our teams are operating and what they are going after and all that. And plus, like, one thing Frank said, that we are into a multi-billion-dollar industry of NFTs or people trading these JPEGs. I feel slightly different on that, that trading is a very important part, that, this 20% of the top people trade and then this brings a liquidity. But a large number of people like me, right? Like, I feel it's the same old thing where you have this sense of belonging. Like first time I actually put a NFT is Utes, right? Like, and then I have this sense of belonging now. Wherever I'm in the world, somebody will come along, hey, you Utes, I am Utes. Okay, so yeah, there is already it's like, if anywhere I go into the world, I find somebody from Delhi and India, I'll immediately, have a sense of belonging. And I think especially these community-related NFTs, like what is happening, we are seeing in Reddit, the trading volumes are not that large. But I was talking to the Reddit's head of crypto and all that, and he said that the amount of engagement with these NFTs is very high, even though they don't want to trade it. But that feeling that this is a JPEG and you own it in the real sense, it's actually maybe much bigger than the profit-taking piece of it, right? So yeah, I mean, and for me, like now, I am much more bullish on NFTs. Like, before I got into Utes, right? So I mean, I'm NFT pilled basically now. I never believed in these NFT speculative NFTs before that. That is the reason. Like, this is one section where Polygon has not been, like, let's say the top 3, like, or Ethereum and Solana and Polygon would be number 3 and all that, because I never really thought that, and our team, that this is going to be a long-term thing. But when I got into it, and now the kind of feeling I have is, I think that this is very, very big. It's like on-chain identity.
And I think more important now than ever before, this idea of identity, community, and belonging, right? A sense of, oh wow, this is, and I think ETH Denver is actually a very different experience from a Web3 conference standpoint compared to a lot of the other events out there, because they are very much focused on what specific community you're a part of, whereas being here at ETH Denver, it's very much, we're all a part of the same community. And so I think, to your point though, having, it's funny, when we were putting, my team was like, are we using Frank's profile? And I'm like, that's the only picture we use of Frank. And so having that sense of belonging, community, is so important, to your point. And as we
I'm saying it is bigger than the trading use case eventually, because even now, like, I am feeling, every week I feel like, okay, what's the next NFT I'm bringing in? And I am already thinking that, okay, let me buy some other Ute and all that. So it's the fun, it's the belonging part and all that. And I think that is, in the larger sense, when it will become like mainstream and there are millions or hundreds of millions of people holding NFTs, I think trading will be a very big part, because that will provide the liquidity. But a large number, like 80% of the people, will simply hold through just because of the feeling of identity and belonging.
And I'll transition after this, but it's something that I've actually been thinking a lot about in terms of community design, right? Because it's not, I think so many times we use the term that we are building a community, when really I love what you talked about, feed the pigs. The way I would say it is, we're cultivating a community, we're nurturing a community. Communities are born, right? And so and it's not meant to be this like, weird concept, but as you develop and really bring this about, your values essentially become, or people will self-select into your community based on the values that you project. And so I think that, to your point, this sense of like, we are creating the first people groups of this new internet, of the new way that we interact with the internet. So I think 100%, and I'm excited to see in 2023 how this concept continues to evolve and how different communities, because I think right now we're becoming more diverse, I would say, within Web3. But as more communities start to understand the value of blockchain and they really get those fundamentals, it's going to be fun. So many people are like, oh, PFPs are, we're done with that in NFTs. And I'm like, no, we haven't tapped into all the different cultural communities around the world, and they haven't yet had their opportunity to express what their people group of Web3 is going to look like. So I agree with you. Transitioning here for a moment, a big piece of the draw, especially artists and creators moving into Web3, into specifically NFTs, is the idea around, secondary royalties, right? There's been a lot of evolving things that have happened in the last couple of months to where some of the largest platforms have basically said, hey, we're no longer going to support and enforce creator royalties. How has that impacted you all over at DeGods and Utes?
Well, it sucks. I think that royalties can always be a really powerful force in NFTs. I just don't think they're the only way that's gonna, I had a joke, but it's kind of not a joke, where they should change the word royalties to tips and have the DoorDash tip module at the end, when you're selling on the marketplaces. Because man, it's a marketplace. We're all caught in the middle of a marketplace war. But these marketplaces are raising a $14 billion value. So these guys can't just let their market share go to zero. No matter how much they want to support the creators, no matter how many tweets are made about it, they're just not gonna let themselves lose all that market share. And so this cutting of that royalty fee is becoming the way that marketplaces get relevance. And I think it's going to be really challenging for the genie to go back into the bottle, because initially royalties were enforced by the marketplaces. It was never something that was on chain, and so now that they're not, it's going to be a challenge. And we went through this a lot earlier than ETH did on Solana. And dude, it's just mints are going to go down. Fucking people's excitement is going to go down. It's not pretty, but I do think that the future is not threatened by the lack thereof of just high royalty percentages. My prediction is it's going to go to marketplace fee sharing. So it'll be a flat fee to the end user, and then the marketplace will share the fee with the creator. I just think that the metadata, royalties, creators setting the royalty fee, it's a little bit of one of those things I was saying earlier. It was kind of arbitrary in design initially, and I don't know how strong the royalties are going to be for the next few months. So my main message to founders was, hey guys, you might not like this, but I hope you're cutting your burn rate. I hope you're bunkering down, because there's a reality where you're making 5 to 10% of what you were making before, and just be ready for that. If it doesn't happen and royalties get saved, let's fucking go. But just be ready for the worst case scenario.
I mean, I am not a creator, but looking into this royalty debate from outside, what I feel is that what is happening here is, whenever you have two extreme sides of anything, the truth always lies in the middle. And what I feel here is, what is happening wrong is that the middleman is deciding how the market should behave. I think at the end, this should be with creators only, because their followers, if Frank is there, he might be able to charge even 10% royalty versus a early artist who's just, maybe he don't want to.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. I'm not saying that he wants to. I'm just saying that it depends on, it's just like Gucci versus some other brand. They want to charge more for their brand. It's about the brand. Why is the marketplace in the middle deciding what you should charge and what should not charge is what I feel. But I have no idea about the nuances of this, so I might be completely dumb in this take, but this is what I feel from the outside.
My prediction is that, I don't know if this is what you guys are thinking about, but creator-specific marketplaces, specifically for your collections, I imagine there's going to be a fracturing of marketplaces within the space. Again, really driven by values of what, you see it on Twitter every Saturday. There's always, no, we don't want, creator fees. No, we do. And so I think that we're going to see a fracturing within the market. And then I think at a certain point, it's going to consolidate again into a few that have very specific, values that they focus on. So.
Yeah, I think, I know for us, it's not a high priority to launch our own marketplace right now. I think what I'm way more excited about is this idea of tipping. I know, it sounds like a meme today, but I think that if you can give someone social status for tipping a collection, whether it's on the way out or on the way in, and they get social status for doing it, knowing the psychology of this space, I think it would actually be really popular. And I just think that the marketplace thing it's really challenging to get buy, sell liquidity onto a marketplace. So even if we were to launch, everyone says, when is Yuga going to drop their marketplace? They have a marketplace, ApeCoin commissioned a marketplace, but nobody uses it over Blur. Nobody uses it over OpenSea because it's really, really hard to bootstrap that both side listing and purchase, order flow to a new marketplace. So it seems like a wasteful endeavor for me right now, but I do like the idea again. DoorDash tips before creators, I think it could be pretty significant. Yeah, because I think people just automatically tip, and that the UI today is almost set up for you to just put the lowest percentage possible. But if people felt like they got some type of social status for doing it, I actually think it's a closer solution to reality than anything else right now.
Well, I look forward to talking to you at the end of the year and seeing what you found out about that.
Yeah, fuck around and find out.
That's
Let's
right.
go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sandeep, I want to, with a couple minutes we have left here, I wanted to talk to you about you all are launching a layer 2 at the end of this month, and I'm really excited to hear what your thoughts are. This is a very evolving, dynamic ecosystem as well, and landscape. So I'm curious to hear, what are you all seeing as gaps in the market, and what does your protocol, what is that going to add to the ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, the gap has always been that, how do you have a highly secured layer 2, which can be decentralized. Like right now we have layer 2s, but they are centralized sequencer, like one sequencer is running those chains. The end goal is, how do we reach a place where you have these off-chain computation, but it's still done in a decentralized way, and it is very seamless. Like for example, with optimistic rollups, like you have a 7-day withdrawal period when you need to run community or somebody needs to run fraud proofs and things like that. So ZK, the power of ZK is that it reduces all those complexities, all those socioeconomic games. It's simply, if the ZK is basically maths replacing everything else, like, this fraud proofs and all that. So you just prove whatever is happening, put it back on Ethereum, and then you are done. So that has a much better user experience because you can withdraw your funds technically every 5 minutes from the rollup. And the guarantees around it are also much stronger. So we are launching this ZK EVM on 27th of March. And I think if you speak with most of the researchers in the space, everybody will tell you that the ZK-based layer 2s are kind of the holy grail of Ethereum scaling. And we are just glad that we are actually launching the first fully built, audited, and fully available mainnet, right? Like it will be available for public on March 27.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, we have a couple of fan questions. So I put out a post and I said, hey, I'm going to be speaking with Frank and Sandeep, and what would you all ask them? So Ryan asks, he says, Frank is following Ord names on Twitter. Does he think builders are coming to Bitcoin? And in the same way that they did if the Ethereum ecosystem has developed, is DeGods planning to play a role in this?
Well, we did this thing where we took 500 DeGods that were burned a long time ago and put them onto ordinals. I think it's hard to fade Bitcoin in general. And I think that Bitcoin NFTs, I have a simple bell curve thesis on it. It's like Bitcoin is going to get more popular and people are going to want, Bitcoin NFTs. And more importantly, the block space is just so limited, right? You have 211 gigabytes a year or 244 gigabytes a year available on the Bitcoin block space. And that, like, my phone has more storage than that. And that's, like, to me, it's just a no-brainer that there's going to be value there. I don't think that it's going to replace the smart contracts, that and all the functionality that you have on ETH, on Polygon, etc., on Solana as well. But what I do think it will do is be part of the luxury art market in a big way. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year, the highest sales on any NFTs are all going to be, like, that top 10 will be in Bitcoin. So that's the trajectory I think it's going. Not surprised Yuga launched something. Welcome to Bitcoin Yuga. Yeah, I just think it's not going to replace what's out there today, but I think it will siphon and make a larger art market. It's hard to deny.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so what's going to bring in the next million users?
For me, it's gaming and brands. What they are doing with brands and all that, I think that has a potential to not millions, maybe double-digit millions in like 12, 18 months. And gaming, whenever it kind of explodes fully, it will be the highest users, section.
I just think making new experiences, things that you can't do in Web 2, but is only possible in Web 3. This is where I think all of the traction will be, and this is what got me excited about NFTs in the first place. It's just something that's new and fresh, and something that's 10x better than what else is out there. Just the basic stuff, yeah.
Awesome. That's time. Thanks, guys, so much.
Thank you,
Enjoy
everyone.
the rest of the conference, everyone.